The position paper is great. I really enjoyed reading it. It addresses two issues that I think are often overlooked. One is, what kind of supply are we building? It's not enough to have supply. We have a record number of housing starts in the city of Vancouver. Things don't seem to be getting any more affordable. In fact, just the opposite. What kind of housing, what kind of supply are we building? And that's the question the position paper asks. How can we build housing that addresses that missing middle, that's more affordable for people who live and work and pay taxes in Metro Vancouver? The second piece of the paper that I really appreciated was addressing infrastructure. I mean, the idea that we would have a referendum on whether or not we need transit in Metro Vancouver was bizarre. And it became a referendum about TransLink, and it stalled transit progress for 4 years. And the provincial government couldn't even get their act together to commit to the federal government that we would fund the 10-year plan from the mayors, the light rail in Surrey, this Broadway SkyTrain. 7% of the capital cost was missing because the Fed said they'd do half, the province said they'd do a third, the city said they'd do 10%, just 7% of the capital cost missing. And before the Feds did their budget, the province could not bring themselves to say, we'll do that extra 7%. We are excited about this project. We want shovels in the ground. We want to do this thing. And so when the Feds finally announced their budget, what did we get? Only 40% of the project, and spread over a number of years, because the Feds want projects that are underway right away. They want stimulus and they want carbon emission reduction. And if the province had been there saying, we're going to do this mayor's 10-year plan, we're there, we're going to fund it, it's going to happen, I'm convinced that we would have seen that money. Instead, we did not see full funding of that project. And maybe another 4 years under this current government, if the government isn't changed before we see those transit projects. So those two critical pieces are really important. And I hear the former housing minister talking about innovative solutions, and he's right. That's absolutely what we need. We need partnerships with the private sector, between the private sector and government, to do these kinds of things. We've proposed 2% additional property tax for people who are buying properties in Metro Vancouver but not paying their worldwide taxes here. And that money to be reallocated into providing affordable housing, subsidizing the construction of affordable housing for people across Metro Vancouver. We've also got a very significant amount of public, well, whatever hasn't been sold off, but we've got a significant amount of public land. The Oak Ridge Transit Barns land is a great example of a huge missed opportunity, where when you sell off land to the highest bidder, that buyer has to recover the cost of that land. And Little Mountain is an example of that, where it was frozen in time for a decade because the person who bought it paid too much for the land, and they have to recover the cost of the land from the sales of the properties on the site. So when you sell off the Oak Ridge Transit Barns, which was a public asset, when you sell it off to the highest bidder, you lose that opportunity to do what government used to do. For example, around Granville Island, South Falls Creek, where government was involved in building a mixed income community, market, rental, social housing on a site, on a single site. And so these missed opportunities where we're giving up public land, and then when we partner with the private sector currently in the provincial government, this government is poisoning the well. So there is a deal on Hastings Street where the government refuses to release the development agreement that they signed with a major donor to this government's political party. And what do people think when they refuse to release these agreements? That there's something hidden. So why wouldn't there be full transparency on these deals? We can't poison the well on these kinds of agreements because we need the private sector to be there in partnership with government to solve this housing crisis. And if the public has no confidence that government can do that without there being problems, then we're poisoning the well and we're not going to be able to come up with these innovative solutions. So there's a reason why we're ending up where we are. It's because we're selling off public property to the highest bidder instead of using it innovatively. We're failing to build the transit that we desperately need, the infrastructure to get people around to more affordable housing. We can't have density around SkyTrain stations that don't exist. So we need to build transit, we need to build affordable housing, and we need to leverage every asset of government, whether it's public property, the ability to put tax on speculators who aren't paying taxes here and use that money to facilitate the construction of more affordable housing and rental housing. The whole west end of Vancouver, the rental housing was built because of a federal government incentive program called the MERB program. And that's what we need to do. Thanks.